Hello, welcome to Ascension Arcana Tarot. This is Christine with a weekly reading for the week of October 20th. This is a general collective reading, so as always, please take what resonates and leave the rest behind. This and all of my readings are timeless, so even though I'm pulling this on a certain date, if it shows up in your video feed, then there's probably a message for you here. I don't know about you guys. We're moving through like some big energy in my house. I had like a whole list of readings that I wanted to do recently with a bunch of planets that are doing cool stuff and the full supermoon that just happened the other day. But my kiddo and I have been pretty sick and moving through just like a lot of physical energy. So I'm here and I'm really happy to do a reading. But if your week has been anything like mine, it's been a lot. God, what does this collective need to know? That was too much. There we go. Five of Wands, Queen of Cups, and Three of Cups. Okay, so the Five of Wands for me is a card of like, it's like one of my ego clashy cards. I feel this as an energy. It's either within you or maybe manifesting physically in your life, just an energy of like kind of like petty arguing over stuff that's not even that big of a deal. I feel like I can totally relate to that with some things that I'm working through personally. So I'm kind of laughing a little bit, but yeah. So for me, this can be like you're kind of in an argument with yourself, like you've got some kind of clashy internal chatter or just some sort of frivolous, petty argument. Like maybe you're arguing with like a coworker, or maybe you and your spouse are arguing about like whose turn it is to take out the trash or something. I don't know. But it's like in the grand scheme of things, this is really not that strong of an energy and it's not that big of a deal. But I do feel like I'm drawn to this like sort of focusing feeling. So on this card, there's sort of this shading around the edges, but I feel like I'm drawn to focusing like here. So it feels to me like maybe if you're in this collective, you're kind of overly focused on this sort of clashy energy that's represented by this card. The Queen of Cups and the Three of Cups, it feel like all that I'm drawn to on this card is her putting her hands up. I feel like the Queen of Cups is a very peaceful energy. She thrives in peace. She thrives in like calm, peaceful emotions. So I feel like she is holding up her hands as a boundary, as a way of saying stop, and also kind of just surrendering and releasing whatever this is. So I feel like an energy of releasing that and recognizing that whatever this clashy kind of argumentative energy is, it's just not worth losing your peace over. The energy of the Three of Cups as well is just sort of reinforcing that peace for me. This is actually, I don't know how this will resonate. What's coming to me is just my personal example of what I've been going through the last couple of days here is sort of like wrapping myself in a hug. So I almost see this as like pieces of myself that I've been working through, sort of soothing and calming to kind of release myself from this arguing energy. It also could be the case that these are like real life friendships for you that maybe would be really supportive for you in terms of helping you kind of process or release some of that energy. I love the Page of Cups. He's so whimsical on this deck. I feel like I'm just getting this message that things are not as they seem. Sometimes I hear that with him. Like he's kind of, I feel like there probably are expressions here that I don't even understand, but I'm drawn to like his legs being like dangling from here and like when pigs fly, right? I don't even know what this little bowl represents. There's this little like heart hand symbol down in the corner. He just is so whimsical and he's like really playful. This is funny. I totally relate to this reading. I feel like from what I've been moving through, that's part of, I guess, I don't even want to say frustration. That feels like too big of a word, but I don't know. I feel like something that I've been sad about this energy for me is that it's not fun. It's like lost innocence and whimsy and playfulness, and like that's fine. Life can't be innocent and playful and whimsical all the time, but I feel like it should be that way at least some of the time. And when that energy has disappeared, sometimes it's just sort of your responsibility to like claim it and work to create that. That kind of a big chunk here. The Lovers, the Hermit, the Moon, Judgment, and Knight of Wands. Wow. I have shuffled this deck so many times. And these, it's funny, they actually did come out in numeric order, but they're not immediately in order. So it's 6, 9, 18, and 20. It's interesting to get a big chunk of major arcana cards like that, especially with all these minors being up here. This is interesting. Let me feel this for a minute. I'm super drawn to this green color here being bookended by like these fiery cards. This to me very much feels like being in your emotional energy. So it's like an energy of water. I'm actually going to move this. It feels like almost just like another layer of the pyramid. I think you can see them all. Yeah, you can. Yeah, this is really interesting. So depending on like you, right, and your individual situation, this is not going to resonate the same for everybody, but I'm definitely feeling an energy that this sort of petty squabbling could be for some of us in this collective, something that's happening in a romantic relationship. For others of us in this collective, this could just be a place where you're really trying to get clear on like a decision or a choice that you're making, and figuring out which choice is the one that aligns the most with love for you. Based on what I'm feeling from the Queen of Cups and the Three of Cups and the Page of Cups, I very much feel like setting boundaries, surrendering this squabbling, and kind of soothing yourself back to peace, and also calling in this like, just like this lightness and this fun. I don't know, it feels really important. I feel like something's getting lost, kind of like, it feels very tangled. I'm even noticing the way that their hair is like a little bit tangled together. There's like this tangly energy. I actually just heard, I heard in my like inner voice that it's codependency. I feel like there's codependency going on here. Whether this is like codependency with a partner outside of yourself or codependency with like some ego noise inside of you. Like you're not going to be able to please ego. Ego's job is to undermine, like your highest self, right? So ego will never be satisfied. So if you're trying to have a relationship with ego, it's basically just insanity. It's a part of you that will never be satisfied. The best thing you can do is kind of call it out, see it, set boundaries, and kind of realign yourself with love, right? So I do feel a feeling here of needing to like extract oneself from the tangly codependency energy that's happening here. That is the move that's aligned with this lover's energy, this love energy, right? That's moving in the direction of love, is removing that codependency and loving yourself. I feel like these three, it's like a Oreo, or like these two fiery ones are the cookies, and this is like the filling. The Hermit, the Moon, and Judgment. Man, that is like some crazy deep inner work. I don't even have the words for how mind-blowingly transformative this is. And it's so interesting because I'm reading this Five of Wands as such like a petty squabbly energy. But I feel like this is a huge opportunity. Like whatever this squabble is about, the universe is not going to let you miss the healing opportunity that is here. The Hermit is a card for me of just going into like complete aloneness, right? Going deep within yourself, finding your own, like the Hermit always has this glow, right? Like an inner star or an inner light, really getting in touch with your inner self, your divine self. I feel like what I'm hearing is that there's an opportunity here for you to find some sort of like profound truth. about yourself, about like the universe, about divinity. It's like a huge spiritual revelation is on the table for you here. And even though it's over like a small thing, it's like a small invitation for something huge to come out of it. And I feel like this is something that the universe really wants you to get. So the universe is like 1,000,000% on your side here in terms of wanting to support you with like having this revelation, having this like awakening. So that's the Hermit card, right? It's all about going deep within, really doing like deep inner contemplation work. The moon is also a very similar vibe. It's about like diving into your fears. It's really funny. We were just talking about this with my spiritual coach the other day about how I have a tendency to like just dive in. That's kind of my go-to. And then I'm like, wow, I really dove in there. This is kind of a lot that's coming up. So some of you might relate to that feeling of like, what the heck is going on, right? Like all of this stuff is coming up and it feels horrible. And you're over here as this Queen of Cups just wanting to be in peace and like release all this nonsense and kind of bring this lightness and this whimsy back into your energy. And you're just like entangled in like this clashiness, right, of that Five of Wands. And it's like, I feel like you're even looking at yourself like, why am I even arguing about this? Like, why are we even having this discussion right now, right? Like, I feel like if you're in this collective, you will relate to that energy. So the moon feels like that. It feels like also another analogy or expression is like biting off more than you could chew, right? So you may feel this kind of energy of like drowning. Like I'm feeling like when you go deep underwater, right? To the point where the light is really dim, right? Like there's not even a lot of light getting through the water. That's what this color reminds me of. It's just being like deep within your soul, within your psyche, like you're just in it. And I feel like it probably feels really messy. And probably part of the message of this, the reason why you're hearing this reading is because this is so massively transformative for you that you don't have to be scared. Like you are not doing anything wrong. If you're having that feeling of like being sort of deep under the water and you're like, good God, like what happened? I'm so far from the surface. And like, you're kind of feeling disconnected or overwhelmed or almost like you're drowning. Like it feels like too much. It's okay. Like it's okay. The universe is 1,000,000% there supporting you with this, and you can call for all the help that you want to. And like for me, I've told you guys, I believe in God. I call spirit God. So I would just say like, God, I'm drowning here. I need your help. And I literally have said that multiple times over the past few days. So it's like, it's just as simple as that. If God doesn't resonate, call on your ancestors, call on your highest self, right? Like call on your angels, whatever. God, man, call on your cat. Like whatever resonates for you in terms of like a support system, call your friends, But I feel like an energy of like surrendering to being in the depths of your psyche, to being in the middle of the mess, to being in that drowning feeling, not in terms of like giving up, right? Because you don't want to live in that feeling forever. So you're not giving up, but surrendering in terms of like, wow, okay, this situation has brought me to this piece of my soul or this piece of my psyche that's crying out for healing. And, just kind of choosing to experience that and be with that, right? And like feel those feelings and love yourself through whatever it is that's coming up. It's funny that it says judgment. I've been working through a lot of judgment energy and criticism within myself. So I don't know if that will resonate for any of you guys, but that's been a big thing for me throughout my entire life. But I feel like part of what's happening here is this is like that moment of surrender. We're sort of leaving like a heavier energy behind and ascending. Like there's the rest of you that's ascending is like lighter and more free. So I often feel this energy in this card where like the physical body here is like really heavy, and even having that image, right, of her being like deep under the water, there's like a heaviness that you're kind of surrendering and leaving behind. And for me, I would just see it as like dissolving, right? It's not like an actual piece of you that you're leaving behind. Not of your true self anyways, right? It might be an old pattern. It might be an old belief system. So maybe, for example, you have a really fierce inner critic, who's throwing a lot of shade at you, being judgmental, being critical. That's going to lead to a lot of feelings, right, of being unworthy. And probably some depression, a lot of sadness, like hopelessness. Like I feel that in this card. So when I'm talking about that physical body, I'm not speaking about you actually losing your physical body, right? But it's just representative of like that heaviness, that those old patterns, those old ways really just sinking down and dissolving and being kind of left in the water. And the way that I perceive that is that the universe sort of dissolves and recycles the energy. So it's not like you're leaving anything behind to like, you know, I don't know, come back to you again someday or something. Like just completely releasing that, letting the universe dissolve and transform that heavy energy. And then you just like rising up, like back up towards the surface of the water as like, it's like a phoenix rising energy, right? And look just how light and like free her spirit is here, just like completely surrendered, but like rising back up, right? So it's like you're ascending back to the top of the water where I feel like you can finally poke your head out of the water, right? And breathe and feel that like relief and the freedom and the fresh air. I'm really feeling like this. I don't know. I feel like it ties back to the Page of Cups for me. Just sort of like a delighted, light energy of like, man, I'm so happy I'm alive right now. You know, like I'm being reminded of times as a kid at the beach where I'd get like tumbled over by a wave, and you know, you have those moments of panic where you feel like you're going to die or whatever, and you finally break your head through over the surface of the water, right? And you're like, "Oh, it feels so good to just like put air in my lungs, right? And get like clarity and the vitality and the life, and really just being like present in your body, and so joyful and like so relieved." And again, like, I don't think any of that is like a physical thing that's actually happening to you guys, but it's like the best analogy that's coming to me to describe this energy that I feel. And I think it's so funny that even like this mermaid figure in the moon is like sunk under the water, and then in the judgment, she's like rising back up. It's like exactly what I feel. But I really feel like it's so important here, that surrendering, like, let me think of how to say this. The universe cannot make choices for you, right? You have free will. So it's up to you to decide if you want to let this transformation in, right? This bumpy energy is something that if you're in this collective, you're moving through it, whether you're letting in it or not. I think it's the healing, the surrendering to that healing where your big choice is. And again, going back to the Lovers, choosing that path of love, choosing that path of loving yourself, of letting the love into yourself, right? Releasing those patterns of judgment and self-criticism, and maybe some attachment to that feeling of unworthiness. Again, just making the choice to let that go. And it's literally as simple as, I choose now to release unworthiness. I choose now to release these patterns of self-judgment and self-criticism. Just making that choice, whether you make it in your head, in your heart, whether you say it out loud. For me, I love saying it out loud. I feel like it just sort of locks it in. But yeah, making the choice to just surrender to that healing, release that heaviness, and then experience that sort of phoenix rising energy all the way till your head breaks the surface and you feel that release. That's like a really, really profound energy. And the Knight of Wands here, I love these two fiery cards. I just keep thinking of it as like a cookie with like a filling. It's so funny. But I'm like, all I'm drawn to is how free and playful she is. Like sometimes I get a feeling with her of like being irresponsible, or she's just like, you know, kind of living in the moment. But it's just such a joyful, beautiful feeling. I feel like it really is. It's again, it's bouncing off that Page of Cups for me, where it's just lighthearted and kind of whimsical and playful, and like bringing that joy back and that fire back, in a beautiful way, in like an aligned way. I feel like the fire in this Five of Wands is being, I was going to say is being used, but I don't think you're really using it on purpose. But it feels like it's out of control, right? It's just sort of this like fiery, passionate energy that has like nowhere to go, and it's not really serving a purpose. And it's just sort of like fire getting tossed around and everyone's getting like burned by the fire. It's making me think of like a fire twirler. If you ever go to like a music festival or whatever, a fire twirler, but who's like really bad at fire twirling, and like everyone's standing too close to them and they all just keep getting like burned by the fire. Like that's kind of the energy that's there. Just, it's chaotic and it's not fun, and it's like being clumsily wielded. I feel like that's maybe a good way to say it. Whereas the fire here in this Knight of Wands feels so beautiful to me, and so like, God, I actually feel like I'm like tearing up channeling this energy. It's triggering me a little bit. That's interesting. It's so beautiful, and it's so pure, and it's so innocent. I feel like that's the crux of it. It's very innocent. So I feel like it's moving through and healing the judgmental tendencies, the patterns of self-criticism, any of those feelings of unworthiness, just letting them sink down and dissolve, and let the universe like recycle that energy, and coming out into that energy of innocence and inspiration and like presence, and just pure joy. Feels like really, really beautiful. Wow, I did not expect this reading to be that profound. At the bottom, we have the Wheel of Fortune. I love that. It's even kind of a color match for this little the cookie sandwich that we were talking about here on the bottom row, with the orange and this like teal color. But yeah, she's just another figure showing that freedom. And the wheel is when, for me, most of the time I feel that as the universe kind of swooping in and doing like a 180 for you. So really changing any circumstances or events or people, like jobs, relationships, whatever. It could be anything, your car. If there's anything that's out of alignment for you in your life, or that's not meant for you, it can be the universe kind of coming in and turning that around and kind of realigning you. It's like a course correction, right? Or like the universe is steering you a little bit. I feel like in the direction of love, right? I really feel that like tangly energy, and just how chaotic and codependent that feels. And just that the choice here is to completely extract yourself from that tangliness, and doing this deep dive within. Like, this energy feels very solo to me. Like, this journey that you're going on deep into your psyche, like nobody else can go on this with you. This is you and God, like deep within you, doing some major healing, and being willing to do that, right? It's safe to release. It's safe to release others. I feel like what I'm hearing is that message of like, if something is meant to be yours, like it will always come back to you, or it will never be lost, or something like that, right? Like if it's meant to be in your life, it's going to be in your life. And if it's not, then my inner voice just said, if it's not, then good riddance. And it's like a little bit of a harsh way to say it, but I mean, it's true. Sometimes the truth can be a little harsh. That's what my inner voice is saying. If it's not, good riddance. Yeah, you have like a major, this is ridiculously profound. This is like a life-changing healing process that you're going through here. But again, if you are making the choice to let that healing happen, right? If you are making the choice to let that in. So the universe is not going to force you to do this. The universe will. I feel like I see like your angels, spirits, ancestors, like your guides, whatever, God, like sitting on the edge of the ocean, twiddling their thumbs, like, are they going to invite me in? Do I get to come in? Are they going to invite me in? Right? Like my spiritual teachers like to say that God is shy and that you have to invite God in. And the second that you do, God always accepts your invitation. So I feel like all it takes is you just inviting them in, right? And asking for some support to move through this healing and to resolve this. Yeah. I have no words to express to you how profound this is. This is amazing. It's like a massive spiritual level up. I feel like Phoenix Rising is really appropriate because in the myth of the Phoenix, right, it's all about when the Phoenix dies, it turns to ash and then it's literally reborn. And I feel like that's you. I feel like this is one of those healings where it's like one day you're one way and then you go through this healing and like a couple days later, you like can't even believe that you used to be the person who was engaging in this Five of Wands energy. That's amazing. It's really, I just want to sit here with that energy. It's very profound. Alrighty, God. That was already like a ton of advice. I don't know what else God will have to say, but we'll see. Do you have any other advice or anything else to say to this collective here? This one went deep too. I usually only get 3 rows of cards. I was thinking of using, oh, there we go. I was wondering if we get any. 3 of Wands. Yeah, I love that energy for this. I love this card. I feel like it's such an energy of like openness and freedom from that one. The 3 of Wands in the traditional tarot is where the guy is standing on the cliff and he's waiting for his ships to come in, right? And they're like all nice and safe in the harbor. They've made their trip around the world. And basically all he has to do is just get his goods off the ship and his success is inevitable. That's like always what I channel from that card. Success is inevitable. And just the freedom, like I really feel that same. It's very much for me bouncing off the Knight of Wands card, and it's even like a color match, a pretty close color match. This one's more pink though, which is making me feel a little bit more heart chakra energy, which I actually really am loving. It feels very peaceful to me and like very innocent and free. I feel like the world is your oyster. The horizons are just completely opened up to you. And yeah, that's like the world is at your feet. It's such a beautiful feeling. So I don't know. I almost feel like maybe that's like motivation for somebody. This is not really advice. Yeah. Maybe this is like a value for somebody. Like if that resonated for you, any of what I just said about the 3 of Wands, making that choice to like let that in, right? To go into your own depths and release like all of the heavy, false, toxic things that are kind of holding you back. It's all just ego chatter. It's all just keeping you down. It's not even really who you genuinely are, like on a spiritual level, right? Yeah, I just feel like when you move through this, it's like I just keep hearing like the world is your oyster. I think that's the expression. Like the world is at your feet. Like it's like you can do anything because you're just so peaceful and you've released this toxic stuff that I would, kind of represented by like that body in the Judgment card. The Knight of Cups is so sweet here. I love that. I feel like, so it's interesting. We have the Page, the Knight, and the Queen. So all that we're missing here is the King of Cups. I'm wondering if he'll show up. We have a lot of water energy with all the cups, and we have a lot of fire energy with all the wands. So that's really interesting too. It's making me think of Temperance. I feel like I'm channeling that where it's like that balancing of the water and the fire, kind of balancing peace and passion. I feel like that's what this is. Being able to wield the passion with a bit of skill, being able to wield the truth with a bit of skill, being able to wield your emotions with a bit of skill, right? There's definitely like a skillfulness here that is helpful. And it's okay, like, to let that be a practice. Like that's like a lifetimes long practice. And notice that I said lifetimes plural. Some people are better at it than others. Maybe they've been practicing for more lifetimes, right? Or maybe they've had a really good teacher. So it's okay if you're not quite skillful at wielding some of this stuff yet. That's a-okay. You know, Earth is a school. We're all here to learn, and that's safe, and it's okay to do so. So I feel like the Knight of Cups is, he's like so sweet. I just feel a lot of these cards is very sweet. He's like a very loving, romantic, emotional energy coming in. So I feel like that may resonate for the folks for whom this represents something that's going on in like your actual romantic relationship. Or it could even be like a friendship, right? Especially with the Three of Cups, like a coworker or maybe a friend who you've been squabbling with. Just a return to like a really innocent, sweet love. I feel like this energy that you're squabbling with is a person that you know and a person that you care about. It doesn't necessarily have to be, like I said, romantic love, although I think it is probably that for some folks in this collective. But it could be friendship love, right? It could be maybe you're squabbling with like one of your kids and it's like your love of your child, right? And just sort of returning to like a baseline. But if it's a baseline, it's like a higher level baseline. I'm being reminded of like the Ascension spiral, right? Where you kind of feel like you're returning to the same point, but it's actually like a higher point in the spiral as you're spiraling up and up and up and up. Yeah, just a return to some really sweet love. That's beautiful. I'm drawn to the roses, so I do think, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm mostly reading this as having like a romantic aspect. I don't know. Maybe one of your kids loves roses or was born in June, right? I like the white horse too. I feel like calling that out. I don't know if that will be symbolic to anyone. It just feels very innocent to me. Three of Swords, King of Wands, Two of Swords, and Ace of Pentacles. Interesting. We have something besides just wands. We got Swords and Pentacles. I'm getting a very clear message in this row. It's making me giggle a little bit. So this row might rub up a little bit on ego, and I feel like that's fine. I'm just going to say what I'm feeling from the cards. So I feel like if you are in this collective, I feel like this row is giving us a hint as to what this healing is, this sort of underwater part of like this sandwich here in this bottom row, right? So the Three of Swords is showing me a place where someone, you know, you or whoever I'm reading for, so I'm taking my sweatshirt off. It is hot in here. I feel like all the wands energies like got me on the edge of my seat here channeling all this stuff, and I'm like all super into it, and it's like heating up my body. The Three of Swords is, I mean, look at this figure, right? They're in agony, just complete heartbreak, and their heart is like getting ripped apart. It's a place within you where I feel like, this is like a weird energy, but I almost feel like it's rotten. So it's not ever able to heal because there's like rotten pieces kind of getting in the way of the healing. And I feel like that's because whatever this is that you're healing, it's not actually you. So it's not meant to be in there. It's like, I don't know how to describe it except rotten. And it's reminding me of like with sorry, this is like really gross, but this is the analogy that's coming to me, is like with rotten flesh, you have to like remove the rotten flesh, right? So that the healthy skin can come and heal. So that's what this feels like, is like this kind of heaviness that I was channeling in the Judgment card is the equivalent of that, like removing the rotten flesh. The King of Wands feels very ego here to me. So that can be, I'm almost like reading the energy reversed, even though I don't really put the cards reversed, but that's what I'm feeling, is like that aspect of him where there's like a very large amount of pride, a large amount of ego, and like, I don't care how far you are in your spiritual work, like everybody contends with ego. So it feels like an invitation. I just was visualizing like shaking hands with him, kind of confronting him, not in a fighting way, right? Because there's no point in fighting with ego, but in a way of saying, hey, ego, I see you and I'm meeting you like head on, right? I'm not afraid of you. I feel like that's part of it, not being intimidated by this energy, He even has like a fiery crown here on his staff. He's got his lion over his shoulder. Like, this definitely feels like you even having the bravery to like confront these patterns within you, to confront that ego within you. Like, man, I feel like I admire that for you. I'm definitely channeling the strength card here with that lion too. That kind of Leo energy with that fire as well. Having that strength and having that bravery to confront these patterns within yourself, like, man, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So feeling like this heartbreak, this agony, feeling that there's some ego and like pride involved here, that kind of makes it difficult to like confront these patterns, right? Like, nobody wants to be wrong, especially if you're arguing with your spouse about bringing out the garbage or whatever, right? Like, no, you probably want to be right. Like, sometimes it's the most petty thing, but like, it's very human to want to win an argument, right? Or be like right. But I definitely feel like the real battle, it's like a very petty surface reflection of like this massive, deep spiritual battle that you're actually like fighting deep within your soul. So even though it seems silly, and I'm kind of like joking about how silly this energy is, it's really not. It's a reflection of like a huge pattern that is going on within your soul that you're being invited to heal. So there's nothing silly about this energy. It's just sort of showing up in what seems like kind of a flaky way. The Two of Swords, 100% to me, feels like you wanting to be blind to whatever this pattern is. So I feel like maybe you're of two minds about it, which is that sort of Two of Swords energy where you're like at a stalemate or you're not deciding. I just looked at the clock. It said 36:36. Sorry to randomly interrupt myself, but I don't know if that will be significant to anyone. 36 is a 9. 9 in tarot is like the ending of a cycle. So I like that. That's really interesting. Yeah. So this energy of the Two of Swords, we're kind of like in two minds about it. There's a part of you, I think, that is willing to kind of go deep within your psyche and look at these patterns. But I also feel like there's a part of you that is maybe afraid or hesitant, or maybe even that feeling of like unworthiness, just sort of keeping you in that stalemate or like a little bit trapped. And I feel like the birds here kind of pulling at you with this mask and stuff. It's interesting. They're even tangled up, like I was talking about that codependency energy. I really feel like that's so important, extracting yourself from that codependence so that you can focus 100% on yourself. I feel like very compelled to say that you deserve this and you are worth this healing. And like, I don't know how to say it. Like, if this is a spouse or a friend or a coworker, like whoever you're kind of having this battle with, maybe even just to put it on pause and say to them like, hey, I'm feeling a little triggered, or maybe even just say like, I'm having an off day today. Yeah, I'm trying to like, I'm having words come to me and I'm having a hard time even like catching up with them. Like, I'm having an off day today. I value our friendship, relationship. I don't want to fight with you. Give me a chance to work through this. And like, I don't even know if saying those words would resonate for all of you. It probably would for me, especially with my really deep friendships. I would definitely say something like that. Just give them a heads up that I'm like triggered, right? And I feel like I have some things to work through, or even just tell someone, you know what, I'm having an off day, but I value our friendship and I don't want to fight with you. That would maybe be like the most simple way to say it, right? I feel like that might help kind of untangle some of that codependency and give you the space that you need to really just be with yourself. I feel like that is so important. This is such a solitary energy with what you're going through here. Like I said, accept God, right? I feel like spirit is with you 100%, but otherwise it's just you and spirit. So I feel like this to me feels like maybe the barriers or challenges, like the reasons why you would maybe be afraid to dive into this energy, right? That some of that heartbreak, maybe some ego going on here, some pride. Feeling like you don't want to see it because it's like maybe painful or confusing or overwhelming, and just that sort of tangliness of like that codependency. I really am feeling that with both of these guys. It's so interesting. And the fact that it's coming from the Lovers too really just makes me think it's a romantic relationship for most of the people in this collective. The Ace of Pentacles here being on the end feels like such a relief to me. I can't even describe to you how happy I am to see that card. It has a different feeling. So like the Page of Cups, the Knight of Wands, and the Three of Wands here feel like very airy and almost like effervescent and ethereal and light. Such a light energy, because I feel it as dropping this like toxic, heavy self-beliefs or self-chatter, like these patterns that are like hurting you. I feel like these patterns are like what's breaking your heart, right? The Ace of Pentacles feels so simple and so grounded. And I feel like what's coming to me is that I'm channeling like the smell of the dirt, like wet earth in the springtime when you're like planting seeds, and like feeling like the roughness of the dirt on your hands, right? And like feel, kind of wiping your hands and feeling the dirt come off and like having that scent still on there. And just the beauty of like tending your seeds and watering them and nurturing them into growing, right? Like letting them be tender and letting them be innocent and letting them be vulnerable, and kind of like protecting that and nurturing that. I feel like it's such a beautiful energy, and it's really, God, it's going to make me emotional again. Like I'm channeling from this card that it's such a gift. It's like such a precious gift that this is bringing you. That, for what it's worth, like the energy of the cards say that even though you might be experiencing some of these like struggles or hesitations with diving into this energy here, there is such a gift for you here if you are calling in this healing or accepting this healing. And I really am feeling the feeling of like, please make sure that you have support in going through this. So if you have a good friend who you could talk to, a therapist, like if even your relationship partner, if they're open to hearing what you're going through, like somebody to just help you, because this is big and you might be feeling raw and vulnerable and tender with some of this, right? And that's okay. And it's okay to ask for support. That's what it feels like, because I feel like this is going to be really big and really deep healing. Or maybe your support that you need is like from God or angels, and that's completely legit and completely fine. Just make sure, I think the message is just make sure that if you need help processing this or going through some of this, that you call it in, and you accept it and you kind of know where your resources are and are open to that. But yeah, I love this. What an amazing way to end this energy. And it's like especially special to me. The energy that I'm getting off of this card is so precious. I feel like I just want to hold it in my hands and like protect it. Yeah, it's like stirring up a lot of emotions for me. Sorry. It's so profound and so beautiful. And I love that it's the Pentacles, because it's grounded, right? I've talked about this before. So in the tarot, in the minor arcana, you move through the wands, the swords, and the cups, and the pentacles is like the final suit. So you have the lessons of the previous suits. I think it's funny that I was talking about learning to wield things with skill, because by the time you get to the pentacles, you will have learned how to wield that fiery passion with skill. You will have learned how to wield your thoughts with skill and your emotions with skill. So you're coming to this with all of these skills that you've practiced and gained. And it's about, for the first time, rooting and grounding that into the pentacles, the suit of earth, right? Creating your heaven on earth, being able to physically manifest like your wishes come true, your dreams come true. And That's like such a lovely energy. Wow. I'm like blown away right now by this reading. Like, I feel like I don't even know what to say. I wanted to pull a couple of Foxfire cards, so we'll do that. And then I think it's just done. Like, this was, what an awesome reading. This is profound. This is really profound. I'm not going to say I hope I'm in this collective this time because I already know that I'm in this collective. So I actually kind of love that I got to do this reading and share it with you guys. It's like really, really powerful. All right. Anything else that you want to say to my viewers here? We have find a place to withdraw to and willing entanglement. Oh, how interesting. This is really funny. Those two energies that we talked about. So I think the universe just wants to point to him again. So find a place to withdraw to is absolutely the message of this Hermit card. And this whole kind of inner filling of this cookie here on the bottom row really is just really finding a place where you can do this inner work. And I'm feeling called to say too, like, this could be something that you have just a realization in like a moment, right? But it's feeling to me more like this is going to be something that you're working through over a bit of time. So maybe days, maybe a couple weeks. Because this is like deep, 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 deep. So I feel like you're just going to be healing layer after layer after layer after layer and going deeper and deeper into this energy. So really giving yourself the space to go as deep as you need to go, to be as peaceful there as you want to be as alone as you need to be in order to do this work. Like, yeah, that feels really important to me. That's so funny. Willing entanglement. I feel like this card makes me cringe because I was feeling that entanglement so much as codependency energy. So all I want to do is take her and like unwrap her. But I feel like the message of the card is that codependency, that entanglement, that like enmeshment, that it's like getting a knot or like a snarl in your hair, right? Like, that's a choice. That's a choice to be kind of stuck up with someone's energy like that, to be tangled up with them like that. I really just keep feeling that with the Lover's card, how tangly it feels to me today. And I don't usually get that energy from that card at all. And it kind of being like codependent and enmeshed in like your trauma or in your pain, where I almost feel like it's a way that you've been defining yourself for so long that there's almost like a fear of moving through it, because it's like you don't even know who you are without it. So even though it hurts and is heavy and is like holding you back and is manifesting energies and situations that you don't really like, it's like that almost feels better because it's familiar and because it's like kind of predictable. So I'm almost channeling like the Fool energy here. I think the Three of Wands is appropriate to this too, where it's a little bit about expanding your horizons, and as far as the Fool goes, like taking a leap of faith, like really being willing. I feel like it should say willing unentanglement, right? Willing release of the entanglement, because it is a choice to stay stuck in that energy. And I feel like there's a way to compassionately say, like, listen, I don't want to be in this energy with you, right? I really feel this call for this like whimsical, light, fun energy from the Page of Cups, this freedom from the Knight of Wands. But I feel like in order to get that and like a really genuine and authentic level, first you have to go through this. Because you can sure say, okay, I'm just going to screw around and party and that'll make me free, right? But it's like you'll still always have this like gnawing at you. But when you dive in and you really just release it and transform it and heal it by confronting it and noticing, right? And like loving yourself there and making different choices, then you get real freedom. And I feel like that's what this feels like to me. real joy, real peace, and that the horizons are like genuinely open to you. It's not like a faking energy anymore. It's just real. It's like who you are for the next chapter of your life. It's like a step forward that you never step back to, right? Man, this reading is awesome. So I feel like this is just calling me back to the place where I would make a choice. Like, I'll make it with you guys right now. I would say, God, I choose to completely release codependency energy from my vibration now and forever. That's how I would say it. And just let it be done. And value myself enough to do this healing. I feel like I want to peek and see. That's interesting. Oh, how funny. I'm like looking at the cards because I want to see if the Fool. I know this reading is so long. I don't even care at this point. This is an awesome reading. I feel like if you're in this collective, you're probably still listening. And if you're not, then this is probably not for you. He's nowhere nearby. How funny is that? I was wondering if the Fool was nearby. Yeah, it doesn't resonate so much. But there's the Wheel of Fortune again after all that shuffling. And then the Strength card as well, which I said I was really channeling from that King of Wands. And I feel like that's going to be you. Just being free and happy and like grounded. And yeah, what a beautiful energy. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this. Man, if you are in this collective and you feel like you're struggling with support, make sure that you're reaching out. You're welcome to reach out to me. You can reach out to like local therapists in your area, reach out to friends, family, spiritual advisors, like whoever resonates for you. And like I said, it could just be you and God, right? And that's awesome. Like God's the best support ever to have with you as you're going into this space. Yeah, you are worthy of this healing. It's okay to put aside this sort of pettiness and really just dive in and take care of yourself, take care of loving yourself in this space. It's like really profound. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment if you like this video, as all of those things help me as I am growing my channel. Sending you lots of love. Yeah, sending you lots and lots of love. My heart feels like so full. I'm really, yeah, this is profound. Anyways, I'll stop raving about it. I'm so into the energy of this reading. I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.